I thank you for the opportunity to speak in this wonderful session. And I also thank the organizers for doing this. It's a challenging time, and you all have managed to get everyone to speak. Well, my topic, I'll go without wasting time. It's on technology based human values. So I was listening to the earlier talk, and I realized that people are still confused about values. How are we going to integrate this and teach? Because it is not. Most educators start teaching children saying that you must love your parents, you must love your the environment. Now we are using technology now, and to tell students to love your environment, to love your family or society, I think we need to reframe the whole inquiry of ethics and values in the framework of education and the curriculum itself. So my whole life in the education system has been trying to work with values education and ethics, and I have been successful sometimes, and I failed sometimes. But now, after taking on ethics as a course with the American University of Sovereign Nations, I have realized that there's so much that we can integrate in schools as well as in tertiary education. So my research is based both on values and ethics. And for this particular session, I wanted to share with you all some knowledge on ethics and values that I have done, and practically as well as on my with my research work. Now, the more we advance into understanding the nature of technology, we realize that we can work with technology, and technology can work with us, and that is why now people are creating robots. Yeah, so it is our connection with the whole electrical system itself, where we try to have an interface and connect directly, and hence we're able to modulate and also see the dynamics between technology and human beings. Now, many of us are in the developing countries, many are in the developed countries, and so reading information from the developed countries give us some time to be cautious about what we are doing. Yes, so I'm going to speak about technology and social aspects, technology and public health, technology and environment. Um, this is not going to be a very long talk, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. Because of the time constraints, I have not put in any images on my PowerPoint. Um, Now, we did a study. Dr. Kato is here, and there's a Sean from Wabasan University. We did a study on STEM education, and that was an eye opener with me for me, because we worked with 18 people who are educators. They were also curriculum developers, and what I realized was, when you give a topic on ethics and values, people take time to think about it. They can't quickly integrate. Why? Because our mind has not allowed us to integrate this in the curriculum, uh, in the classroom, on a co-creative basis. Co-creative is so difficult, and now we're talking about working in isolation. I remember what I think Dr. Rajendra Kumar was talking about. We no more can work in isolation. Yeah? So I'm talking about shared values and co-creation, and I have been reading a lot of material from UN as well as from the general talk on human rights and social justice in relation to the environment, health, as well as the whole living system itself. And I realized that shared values cannot be spoken about, but it has to be created. It has to be, we have to bring that into our lessons. And bring that means teachers cannot talk about it, but we need to get students to talk about it. And we create the situation for that. And that is why co-creation is very important. And now you can see how children and teachers are struggling online, and whatever Ms. Gunjan had spoken earlier is what's happening in Malaysia as well. I've heard from so many teachers the same challenges we face here. Okay, so now this particular workshop that we did, we asked them to use the de bono thinking hats and to do on sustainable development with the environment. And it took some time, but they did very well because we need to facilitate that kind of teaching, and for that we need people to come together, because we are trying to solve problems, and solving problems cannot be done in isolation, especially where the environment is concerned, especially where society is concerned, as well as public health. Now you would have noticed how many people went off the cuff and helped people outside during this COVID time. The Sikh group here actually helped a lot here, providing food, and we are sustaining life. So end of the day, it's about sustenance of life. Many people saved animals during the COVID time, knowing that they didn't have food, and many of the shelter homes here were also quite helpless in their own way. So this is a time we need to look at our reality here, and not just the curriculum which we have been working on. Yeah, so we have to use ethics and values as at the back of our head, so that we can bring this out from students as well as from higher education as well. Now, when they worked on their own topic, and we asked them to integrate values, uh, I was surprised because they came out with questions like, what are the issues addressed in my country, okay, or in our countries? Because we had teachers from Southeast Asia. Number two, are the raw materials readily available, and are the material sources sustainable? Three, can we afford to purchase the material requested to build this machine? What is the expense of maintaining the machine? Do people lose their jobs once this machine is active, or will the machine create new jobs? I'm still on my second slide. I will move quickly. People are people affected with this change? What happens when we decommission the machine? Are there any non-degradable or non-recyclable parts? These are questions for people, and I realized these questions actually brought out solidarity, because they're thinking about their country, they're thinking about their people, they're thinking about the environment, they're also thinking about the whole earth as it is, because now we know that one country can affect many countries, especially for the COVID. We've all gone through the consequences. It has been it's long term, and we need to now build religion and science as well, to understand data and what are the conditions we are in. Yes. So now technology, talking about the preparation of crowd intelligence now, um, we need to be very careful when we bring in technology from outside. There's a write-up by Hirsch, and he's written about the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal, where 3,800 people died, and 1,000 of them died in the next few days. 20,000 the next 20 years they died. The 1970s operations, what happened was, in this particular plant in Bhopal, they mixed chemicals to produce their own chemicals, right? So first they were mixing chemicals, then later they were taught to produce their own chemicals. But the technology came from US, and when it came from US, they were not trained to actually use technology, and hence they did not know when there was leakage of the chemicals, and when people smelled the chemicals, they quickly realized something was wrong, but it was too late. So we have taken the information from outside, we have started applying the technology, but we have not realized the consequences of our own reality. Have we been trained? Do we have the technology for this? So this is something that I thought I will share. And West Virginia then had used computational instruments. So the problem that we faced was lack of training, health and safety issues. Most had little technical education, no air conditioning, so they never wore masks and they never wore gloves, but we borrowed the technology. No priority of safety. The safety was not a priority at that time. It was more about doing the work. Changes in practice. So what we need now is change in practice at individual level. We need organization support. We need changes in values at society level. So even if you bring crowd intelligence, we have to be very cautious about what we're doing now. And that is the reason I brought this Bhopal incident here. By the way, I'm educated in India, so I have a lot of admiration and respect for Indian education, as well as I understand that the values that I imbibed was from the education in India. And so today, being Independence Day, I'm really proud that I was there. Number three, engineering ethics because my paper was on both engineering and education, I'll be quick with this. Engineers need to know, we follow the legal aspects, but we have to make sure that we know what we are developing, and we also have to see what is unethical when we are doing these activities. Organizational culture sometimes do not give importance to ethics. This is something very important. And even if one man thinks I want to be ethical, he can't, because we need the support of other people. And this is where we fail, because we think that our job will go if we open and speak. So this is something that I think we have to work on or co-create with the whole group as such. Now, with AI, AI has become very powerful now. I can't follow my slides because I have to speak about the context to even tell you why ethics and values has to be integrated, and these contexts so it has to be narrative, and I need to narrate it. Now, if you look at Burton et al. In 2017, he's talking about ethical consideration in artificial intelligence courses. Very soon, we are going to have AI courses, and it's still on. And many of us, I know, are learning it on Coursera. There's some of them are even talking about killer robots, people who favor robots who can kill. And political and financial resources are also being given for this particular thing. So why should we worry about super intelligence now? We want to create super intelligence for what? And if we create, how do we create? So there's some very interesting things that happened. I will just talk about two findings that I found from my research. Duke University, he spoke about crowd intelligence. He said, create a general framework that describes how AI will make ethical decisions. This is researchers from Duke University. Now, the Cornell School of Law, Professor James Grimland, he who specialized in the dynamics between software, wealth, and power, the idea of crowdsourced morality is inherently flawed. He says it's wrong. What to do with the crowdsourced morality? Why? It does make AI ethical. It makes the AI ethical or unethical in the same way that large number of people are ethical and unethical. So we know that governments, once they have power, and if they're ethical, it's fine. But otherwise, we are in deep trouble. If you read about the limits to growth, AI and big data are coming in. And so we need to look at the benefits and challenges. And I think if we have to rush through in getting our children in schools as well as universities to know what can we do without AI and with AI. And if we have AI, how do we approach it? How does it? What are the conditions in the developing countries? And what are the challenges? What accountability will we take? Private and what about the privacy of global as well as local data? So this is something that we need to consider. Also, there's a lot of talk about, and the UN, I think it is to do with the UN CTA, if I'm not mistaken. That's the organization where they've spent a lot of money for, I mean, the data says that we have spent a lot of money for masks, and these masks have been thrown into the oceans. Yeah. So we were very quick in saving ourselves, which is important, but at the same time, we never thought about how we're going to deal with all these masks that has gone into the oceans, and how the fisheries as well as tourism had been impacted. They had to pay around 40 million. So generally, my whole talk, the essence is ethics and values can be co-created. It cannot be taught. It can be co-created, and we need people to come together. We need research and case studies to teach children, and that is all about my technology-based human values. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Professor Suma, for such a nice presentation. The impact of various things on human values, especially use of technology. We appreciate this.